When we invest in ourselves, we all shine. Together, we are Black beyond measure.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. Now, I want to talk to you about a story that piqued my interest, and I thought that it might certainly pique yours. This is the story of Bishop Lamar Whitehead, who is a bishop in Brooklyn, New York City, who was given a sermon on Sunday in front of about 100 congregants when all of a sudden he heard the door open up, and guess what? Armed individuals came into the church and robbed him at gunpoint on the live stream. Now, according to CBS News, he was 10 minutes into his sermon, and he said he knew that they were coming for him and not the members of Leaders of Tomorrow International Ministries, which is his church. Now, this is what Bishop Whitehead had to say in this quote. This is what he told CBS News. Take a look, folks. He said, what you don't see on camera, let's go to the next one, please, Ariel. We said that what you don't see on camera are around 100 congregants who were in the room. Men, women, and children dropped to the floor in silence. He said, my church is traumatized. The women and children are still crying. Babies are still crying. Now, here's the thing. Here's what the pastor also said. He said he believed that his family was targeted because of the publicity he received when he helped turn in the suspect wanted in the fatal subway shooting of 48-year-old Daniel Enrique in May. He said, I turned him in, but the media called me the Bling Bling Bishop. They had my Rolls Royce collar over everywhere, and I feel that played a part in this. I think all pastors should be able to get permits for pistols. Now, I brought this up because it has so many layers, and I got my dynamic duo with me today. Lisa Winnie, who is the host of Millennial Anonymous podcast, and Iman Heath, who is an entrepreneur and an activist and a churchgoer. Lisa, you're a churchgoer too, so I don't want to make it seem like you ain't got no.
Who's going to church?
Yeah. Okay.
Y'all like how I started that off. All right. So
I better say they don't like me in there, but go ahead.
They don't like me either.
All right. So there are a number of different dynamics to this story. Now the situation is this pastor was robbed at gunpoint. They got a lot of jewels. They also, according to the story, they also robbed his wife of the jewels. Now, I'm going to share with you a little bit more about this story, but based upon this situation, here's a pastor who said that he spoke up and was able to get somebody arrested for of course, breaking a crime, having a murder. But the other part of it, to have a pastor to be plastered all over the place as the quote unquote bling bling pastor by the media speaks volumes to me. And more importantly, it speaks to how media can really create dissension, how media can really be used as a tool to divide the people. And then the other part of it is the brazen violence that we continue to see happen in our neighborhoods each and every day. I mean, when you start robbing pastors on Sunday morning, because you know they're going to be there, it's just taking things to a whole new level. So, Iman, what's your take of this whole situation?
I'm not going to say it was right or wrong. All I can say is there is a street known code that snitches get stitches. I'm not saying it's okay. I'm not supporting it, but I can understand the perspective why he would feel as though he was targeted due to him turning in that young man. That could be it. It could also, like you said, he was plastered all over the place with his Rolls Royce and being portrayed as a bling bling pastor. Times are hard out here, really hard. And if you're living in Brooklyn, New York is high as hell for anything.
Right.
So it does put a target on your back when you're labeled that way. It even says in the article they robbed his wife, put the gun to the 8-month-old child's head, took his rings and tapped on his chest to see if he had some more chains on.
Right.
So I definitely believe it could have been a target towards him turning in that young man. But just to add insult to injury, you look like you have money. You come off as you have money according to the media. I need some money, so let me get that up off you so I can make my money. So it's
a terrible situation. It's a terrible situation. Yeah. All right, look, we want to play the video because my team, Ariel, you got the video. Folks, take a look at this situation. All right. All right. That was an inside job.
Yeah, because the young man in the background,
standing up on the wall too.
They look dead at that man and did not go up to him.
Let's get this out the way. First and foremost, the situation could have gone left in a very serious way. So I thank God that nobody was fatally shot or killed or anything. All right, I want to say that because I don't want us to start thinking like, oh, cool. But second of all, that situation looked way too calm. Like the guy was standing on the wall. I don't know this dude, of course not, but he just didn't look. He didn't look fazed, to be honest.
Farajii, the young man turned.
He didn't look fazed at all,
and looked dead at that young man, but never walked up to him, never walked towards him, and that young man did not move. Now, I'm not saying in a situation you should be frantic and start hollering and screaming, but he was still.
Yeah.
And look, and the guy, I'm sure they made eye contact because he looked at him and just kept it moving. Now that part, something not right.
Well, here's the thing. The thing. I think again, this situation has a lot of layers to it. Mm-hmm. So the fact that now, for those who don't know, they were able to get at least $400,000 worth of jewelry from this armed robbery. They actually, Mayor Eric Adams spoke on this situation and said that, you know, they're actually still looking for those who were responsible for this. But they got a lot of money off of this situation. They got a lot of jewels out of this situation. Mm-hmm. And as a result of it, it does at least makes me wonder, one, should there start being some security in the churches, right? Two, for pastors who rely on the material things, is this a clear warning? And Lisa, I want to get your take on that. You know what I mean? Is this a warning that you don't go in front of the people? You don't present yourself to the people, even if you, okay, you representing God and God wants you to have riches and to be enriched and all of those things, that you still got to recognize that in this day and time, and I'll never forget, Mos Def said this on his album, he said, everybody can get got.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that there is a level of, we are in a gilded age right now. Like it feels like we are going back in time where the top 1% or 0.1% of people have all of this wealth, and it's all the people at the bottom that don't have anything. And I think when you have a lot of the celebrities go through this, and I guess a lot of the pastors, where they need to flaunt their wealth because it makes them feel good. But what they don't realize is that other people are calculating that wealth. So if you have it and I don't have it, I'm going to find a way to go get it. It doesn't really make sense. It's irresponsible to have that level of jewelry and without security, because when celebrities and stuff wear that level of jewelry, they usually have security. No one walks around with that. I've heard even they floated $1 million worth of jewelry. I think that this says a lot about the churches and where the churches are going, and the very complicated history Black people should have with the church. A lot of people have been seeing this with Creflo Dollar coming back and saying that tithing was wrong. He needed a jet. And we're seeing all of these people have all of this wealth, and their parishioners have nothing with the taxes. Like they don't have to really report where this money is going. So it's a lot of issues wrapped in this one. But what I will say is, it looks a little suspicious to me. Until all the facts come out, I can't say for sure. But it looks suspicious. Not only did they gun straight to the pastor, I mean, he is very flashy, but they didn't focus on any of the parishioners. He knew that they were coming for him, and they were only targeting him. It just sounds a little odd. So this is not typically the way, if you've ever seen a robbery go down, this is not typically, it took a long time to get in and out. It's just a lot of things. I'm like, really, pastor? I don't know, pastor.
And see, the sad part about it, and at least the sad part about it, because I agree with you on all your points, and that's the sad part about it. It's like
you get insurance on that type of jewelry. You get insurance on that type of jewelry.
But Iman, the thing that gets me is that we're having a conversation about a pastor that wears jewelry in church, and a lot of pastors do. I mean, let's not play around. They might not have as much on, but they might have a watch that's worth 10 grand on that wrist. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But the fact is, you're talking about a day and time, and I'm with you right there, at least when you said this is the gilded time. We're living in a modern gilded age where people are not thinking about there are no boundaries on what people will do to get a little come up.
Absolutely.
And I think that's the most uncomfortable part about it. I mean, again, these young Black men that went into this church to commit this robbery, they were carrying guns, but I don't think they were intending, and I could be way wrong on this, but I don't think they were intending to kill anybody. Because you didn't hear no one scream.
Yeah.
And some of y'all was like, well, where's the volume at? Because no one screamed. It was just
silence. Wow.
Hey, man, we know what's going on. Now, and we shouldn't have this many questions about a pastor who, okay, say he got somebody locked up. Now we're questioning the pastor.
Yeah.
For doing the right thing. But now we're like condemning him. And I'm not saying us particularly, but I'm just saying as a people, we're like, why he got all this jewelry on? Or why he's driving a Rolls Royce? Like,
so my question to you two and those who are watching, what box do you put your religious leaders in?
Oh,
is it a problem that he had jewelry on? Is it a problem that he drives a Rolls Royce? Like what?
It depends on the size of the church for me.
Okay.
It depends on the size of the church. If y'all know, if the pastor is the minister, the pastor of a church that has a very humble beginnings, you know what I mean? We know what mega pastors look like, you know what I'm saying? If you're talking about a Joel Osteen or like you said, Creflo Dollar, or it depends on, like, a lot of these mega churches, a lot of them are folding because people are just tired of that expression of the word. But it depends on the size of the church. If you have a small, humble church, the pastor shouldn't be rolling up to the church. And I mean, it just seems weird, man. Maybe I'm old school.
To be fair, he does have a real estate business supposedly outside of the church. So it's not,
and that's real. That's real, right?
He's getting all of his money.
I know my minister used to drive a Mercedes. So I'm not talking about some, you know what I mean? Like, a lot of people drive Mercedes. So I'm not going to be like, well, why my minister driving a Mercedes? But and then, like you said, Lise, like, pastors do have other jobs. If the church can't support the family and the livelihood of the pastor should be able to work and have other jobs, right? But I think that for us, the culture has always been, if you are religious, and I'm going to just throw this out there and y'all tell me if I'm wrong, people have attributed being religious or being a servant of God with being poor. And
or
that's
having
not
to
true.
Pay poor, or having to
that's not true. And that's not fair.
Make that much amount of money.
Right. People often be like, well, where he getting all this money from? Right. But you can't, I mean, that's not fair to expect a man or woman with their families. They're the pastor's family of the church. And we always think that they should be poor, lowly, you know what I'm saying? And not have, and always begging people for money. That's not fair. I don't think that is fair.
But I think if you go by the Bible, you should be humble. And like I said, I can't tell you, I ain't been in church in a long time. Okay, long time. But if you believe in the word, you believe in being humble, and that you do not throw this up in your parishioners' faces. My issue also is, I watched another video of this guy being interviewed by somebody. The disrespect that came out of his mouth as a pastor, calling people fat and ugly, was just
the cussing pastor on Instagram.
No, the guy, this one. And so that's why I was like, I think that there's an issue that we have, and with this relationship with a lot of the pastors, where not only do we think that they should be poor, I don't think that's it. I think we think they should be very prosperous, and that they are almost godlike. When you look at in the Black community, a lot of the bigger churches, they become almost godly, where you're almost worshiping the pastor and it bypasses God. In this particular situation with this pastor, I think that it was distasteful, because this isn't a huge church for you to be out there flaunting this type of wealth in this church, especially in that community, knowing that that community has all of these issues. It was irresponsible, and it was stupidity. You don't wear that kind of jewelry flashing around people who can't even get food. Inflation is
here's the dynamic on it. Here's the pushback. At least here's my pushback on that. As much as I think you are making a strong point, here's the pushback on that. Culturally, we use the same way that we relate to celebrities. Mm-hmm. It's the same way that we relate to our religious figures, right? When we see a pastor wearing the jewels, driving the big car, flashing the money, and he's telling us this is the fruits of your service to God. This is the fruits of your faith, right? For people who have nothing, that sounds like everything. So you are drawing people in based upon materialism, same way that we support celebrities. We know certain artists that they got money, but there's something about seeing a person with their jewels, and they talk about it. You know, I got this, I got that, boom. And we even though we're like, I know if I buy a ticket, I'm adding to that.
Right.
But there's the other part of us that's like, I'm adding to that because I want to have that.
I agree. I agree. I think that we do need to look at success differently, but that's my biggest issue with the church because of what it's supposed to stand for. You should not be promoting materialism because there's a lot of people that give all their money to the church and they are devout in what they believe and they never get anything because they're giving most of their wealth and money to the church. I think that we do need to hold these people accountable. If you're going to be in this position, this is a position of power. When you are a pastor, they can, in the community with politics, a lot of the politicians come through churches. They can really dictate a lot in the community. A lot of the sometimes the state and local government gives the churches money, and these are tax dollars. There has to be a level of responsibility that we give to these religious institutions and people that are in those positions. But with this guy, just when I saw that other video with him calling that thing, it just told me and showed me what type of person he was. And I'm just not, I'm sorry. I don't believe, I'll wait till the evidence comes out, but it just sounds a little suspicious to me. This just when
I want to get your thought. I want to give a couple of comments.
Without that part, because I wasn't aware of that part that he said, but I also would like for, I would say, I guess, churchgoers, those who tithe 10%, I believe it's 10% of what they earn. I want people to get the mindset that your pastor is a volunteer, your bishop or deacon is a volunteer. Let's think of reality. It's kind of like a job. They're there multiple days out of the week. So you cannot think or believe that your tithing doesn't go towards their, I guess, pay in any kind of way. I'm not saying they're taking most of it, putting it in their pocket, but something has to go towards their family to, I guess, lead the congregation. Like it's their job. They're leading. Yeah. So let's not get you hooked up on thinking that 10% that you're tithing is not going to go towards, I guess, them getting paid or towards their check. That doesn't even logically make sense.
The bill didn't fund that never get paid. That bill didn't fund.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, here's the other part of it. Here's the other part of it too, right? Because this is certainly something that I've learned about churches, even a mosque, that when you have a church that's a part of a larger organization structure, right? Like, so you have the African Methodist Episcopal Church, the AME Church. That's a larger system, right? The Nation of Islam. You have a mosque, but then the mosque is a part of a larger network of other mosques connected. There's a system in place. And so there's a greater level of accountability and responsibility when you go to a church or a mosque or a synagogue that's a part of a larger system, a larger network. There's a greater accountability. The Catholic Church is built the same way, you know? So when you look at that, that's one of the reasons. It's not to say that those misdeeds don't happen in those places, but there is some level of accountability because it's not just one small church. When you're talking about small churches that's just started by somebody who said, I'm tired of being a part of this larger system, then I think you should question it. You know what I mean? As a church member, as a congregant, and please don't let people get into your head to think that you can't, well, why you know, that old saying, don't question God. Wait a minute, man. This is not God. This is man.
God said you can't question.
Like, because every dime should be accounted for. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? You got the building fund. Okay, the building fund is, are we funding the building, or are we building your fund? You know what I'm saying? So, you know, it's like there are questions, and you should be able to ask questions, not in a very suspicious manner, but even for tax purposes. They should give you receipts for your donations, right? They should have some level of some financial accountability system in place to let you know that your money is going where it's supposed to be going, and for you to know that their operations is on the up and up. Very quickly, let me get to a couple of the comments. Folks checked in. Let me see here. I think I saw a good one. Let me go to my man, Brother King Lee. Brother King Lee said, first and foremost, brother, man, shouldn't have had that much jewelry in the church. I got you. Again, materialism attracts people.
It does.
Jewelry attracts people. So that's I understand what you're saying, King. You know that, but when you poor and you walk and a man in front of you talking about what you can get and the power of your faith, and his chain is dangling in front of you and your eyes are just moving with the chain, and you like, oh yeah, amen, Pastor, amen.
Yeah, if I'm already poor and you look whatever poor may look like to you, why would I trust for you to lead me to whatever it needs to be so I can get to my pocket? Like, that don't even make sense. You gotta look the part.
Right. It's like the drug dealer. The drug dealer attracts you, right? Because he's talking. If the drug dealer pulled up on the block, got a nice ride, he pulling out a knot of cash. You don't remember when we were children. Now, I know some of us we've matured since then, but you know he pulling up on the block. He like, what's up, shorty? And you like, I'm good. He be like, yo, you want to make some money? All your eyes is going to the money, to the car,
shoes, the fresh fit every day,
everything. He's smelling good. Same thing. Women do, if a man pull up with all of the trappings of success.
The trappings of success. Farajii.
You know what I'm saying?
On a t-shirt.
Look, trust and believe, he got your attention, ladies. You know what I'm saying? You could be like, I don't want that. But if he pulling up in something foreign, and you like, whoo, he looking something foreign, girl. Look at that.
Especially females. That's not mine. Let's move on. Let's move on.
Let's keep it real.
And that's why we gotta change we have got to change the culture if we're going to get anywhere in society. We idolize celebrities for this. Yep. They look down on us for not having any money, but we make them rich. We control way more, and we don't even realize it.
Woo. Hey, look, here, at least check this out. What about the ones that here we giving our hard-earned dollars to make people rich, and then they flashing in front of our faces and talk about how they worked hard for it.
Right.
You ain't worked harder than me.
Where? You worked hard where? The whole
you ain't worked harder than me to talk about it in your song.
Listen, I got this out the mud. What mud, baby? Your shoes not even dirty.
Because then that must be I'm the mud, baby. Because
for real.
Right.
I'm the mud because you got that from me, baby. Stop playing. You got that from me. So look, no, I hear that. Folks, look, we got to take a quick pause. And look, let me just say this. Let's just keep it real. All due seriousness. This situation, even though it has a lot of questions, is still a situation that could have gone left, right? So I really hope that all of the congregants, I'm not talking about the pastor, but the congregants in the church says, really look into the situation. And if you find that this pastor is not only up and up with you, that you do your best to get somebody that is going to live and express the word and your values the way you want them to be expressed. Because you don't have to take that. You don't have to. This is 2022.
Or they can start patting you down the door. Pat you down to the door. The mosque will pat you down. Pat people at the door. Something.
Security at the door is absolutely important. There have been a number of conversations that I've personally been a part of, and that I've heard over the years. When situations like this happen, people say, "Well, should churches have security?" I think any religious place has security. I remember when Dylan Roof killed our people down in Charleston, South Carolina, many people asked the question, should we have had security? I think if you're in this day and time, security of any religious people, especially when you have our elders and especially when you have our young in those places, there needs to be some security mechanism. In this day and time, you need security of those places with our most vulnerable. That's all I'm going to say. You can't leave it up to the Lord is going to take you. The Lord works through men and women.
Work. You got to make it safe. You got to work.
Work without work.
You don't keep your house door open, but you going to keep the church door open?
God lock the door for me. God
going to lock the door. No.
I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show, Get Wealthy, focuses on the things that your financial advisor and bank isn't telling you, but you absolutely need to know. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
When we invest in ourselves, we all shine. Together, we are Black beyond measure.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
When we invest in ourselves, we're investing in what's next for all of us. Growing, creating, making moves that move us all forward. Together, we are Black beyond measure.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
All right, folks, welcome back. Let me change my camera view. There we go. Welcome back to the show, folks. So many conversations that we've had, and I appreciate all of you for checking in. Let's talk a little bit about where a cultural moment that I think is really, really big, which is the fact that Issa Rae has decided to move forward in creating another show, Rap Shit. Take a look at this.
We living, boy. We living. Look. When you're a successful artist, you know that money coming right back. I'll make this back today.
I just want to make music work for me. But all these female rappers have their ass out.
It's such a sellout move. What is it about?
You always complaining. You could have 1 million views too. Ugh.
What? To a reunion. Reuniting.
I'm trying to get this money. Get my baby a better life. Here in Miami. We got the opportunity to start a rap group.
Shauna and Mia in the building. What's up?
Oh. Y'all remember her from high school? We hung out with her.
You hung out with her. She used to always think she was so smart.
FLORIDA. I'm a Florida bitch and I'm here to stay.
I've been sending freestyle all up and down my timeline. I'll take y'all to the next level.
Cause I'm a Florida girl. So you know I guess we started up.
Vision. It just gotta be fun, sexy, in your face, you know?
Okay, it can be all those things, but my art is not for the male gaze. Hey. I want to make something relevant to people's lives.
Just say you want to be Queen Latifah and go. Florida girl.
Y'all got something special. I'll hit y'all. Got debut performance. You better be ass shaking, titties bouncing.
Attention.
Let's go.
I want to try something different.
This could change our lives.
Gonna be some private jets.
Some lobster.
Who here like lobster? Speak up.
Come on, disperse.
Can y'all get your own area? Damn, y'all some grown-ass women.
No, bitch, get freaky.
We making big moves. We got money, we got bitches, we got bottles, we got broccoli if y'all trying to be healthy. Okay. I mean, it's fried, but it's still broccoli.
I think I want to be mine.
Y'all play your cards right. All this can be regular.
No, bitch, get freaky.
The whole point of your music was to say something meaningful. This is the opposite of everything you stand for.
Excuse you.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Is you serious?
You're supposed to have my back.
Sit right.
I just really want this to work, Shauna.
Sit right.
It's gonna work.
Now we just getting started.
It's me and you. We about to kill this.
I want to try something different.
Can I twerk on this? I should twerk on this. You're gonna fall. Be careful.
Let's bring in Jules and B-Fly into this. So, all right, what's the verdict, y'all? I gave y'all 1 week assignment, 1 week homework. Jules.
Yeah.
Is rap shit good for the culture or not?
100% good for the culture. It definitely, I watched the first 3 episodes, so it gives us the in-depth perspective on, one, developing the characters, so we all know who they are. So that's kind of sort of what shows during their opening. So you really don't get your action to probably your 5th or your 6th episode. But it's this right now. It's establishing the different characters in the first 3 episodes, so you know who is the who. So we kind of got a good idea of what the storyline is going to be. But I'm gonna tell you from what my takeaways from the first 3. So, it's so funny that as me being a hip hop artist, it's like I'm looking at this show. It's like, yeah, this is 100% what I deal with. So I said, maybe this is my struggle. I ain't gonna say struggle. Maybe this is the reason I'm not famous, making millions of dollars on the jet somewhere, because I toe the line between both. I love making lyrical music, but also love ratchet music. So if you listen to my albums, if you listen to my singles, I do a mixture of both. If I'd have just selected the ratchet category, in my opinion, because it's easy for me as a lyricist, I can spit anything. It was an example when she was in the car, like her whole freestyles, you know, all her raps, when she was doing them in the bedroom, they were so power driven, women empowerment, moving forward.
Right. She was on that queen shit.
Right. And as soon as she got in that car, she was able to flow just based off of what's going on. And I said, I deal with the same thing. If I write, I can Kendrick Lamar any verse. If I freestyle, I can freestyle anything that's going on because I'm listening to what I'm listening to right now. It's literally about what you're listening to that affects what's going on in society. So I can look at the music that I listen to. I'm like, oh, when I rap, it's easy for me to just off the top, I can go in the booth and freestyle a whole entire album, and I know it will go platinum. But it's not what I want to talk about. And that's where the struggle comes in. Because you might have balancing and towing that line of, is this what I really want to do? Or this is the route that it's going to. And then again, Issa using social media in this is 100% what everybody is going through right now. That's what makes this show so powerful to me. The way that she uses social media in these episodes to develop these characters and how these characters are always online looking at things, researching. I mean, even women doing what women do. When they see a man getting a like by somebody, they go look at that girl page to see why she liking your man page. Like just just the simple stuff that she breaks down in the show is 100%. Like this is definitely for the culture.
You like that? Hey Jules, I'm with you on that as well, bro. I feel like that's exactly one of the big selling points for me. I was reading a piece, and it was like, the internet is real life in rap shit because it's real life. You know what I'm saying? Like that's exactly where we are with the situation. All right, B. Now you are a Black woman. Actually, for folks that don't know, B, I'm gonna just lay out a little bit more of your biography. You're actually a performing artist. You are a hip hop artist by trade and profession. You are a performing artist. You are a filmmaker. So these two professions actually, this is your world. This is your world. This is right there. Issa is writing about your life. B Fly. She took the whole story from the book of B Fly. I know she did. B. Don't worry about that. But what do you think of this? I mean, this is, of course, when last time we talked about it, it was like an ode to city girls, JT, Young Miami, who grew up in it. But more importantly, it's not about the personality. I think it's more about the fact that this show being in the cultural space that it's in. It's shot the way that it's shot through the lens of social media. It talks about everything from respectability politics and the impact that hip hop has made on women, how women see themselves. Where do you stand on this?
Listen, Farajii, I stand by where I was last Monday. I cannot consume this yet. I cannot. Like, it is too much of my life while I am lifing. You feel me? Like, I need 5 episodes so I can binge and get to the place to where I can wrap my mind kind of around where this is going. Out of like this is and so, Farajii, I'm sorry I ain't do my homework, but this is real, this is real. So I praise God for Issa Rae, all right? And her vision and capabilities and being able to fuse all of these mediums together to deliver the story for you. All right.
Yeah.
But the shit ain't no crystal stair. Okay. So it's real. And the older you get with the decision to be that, all right, the realer it goes. The line between respectability politics, what happens when you're writing versus when you're in the zone, all right, where you are with your moral compass versus where you're willing to go for your audience potentially. All of these elements are so real for me. Like, so I cannot do my homework until we get a little bit further down the line, because I'm too deeply involved in the crux of the what the fuckness. You know what I'm saying? And so it's totally real. You know, the line, but the business and the love, and then the womaning in that, and in the scrutiny that all of the yous participate in, that end up inadvertently shaping what is so divine between one girl and one pen in one bedroom, you know? And so it's so real. It's so real. So I need everyone to continue to watch. I will catch up when it is when it's safe within the series for me as a woman entertainer, business owner, lyricist, to involve my now creative heart into this process of watching other women do the same thing that I am struggling with and thriving through. You understand? And so it's like, so for me, the rap shit so real. It's not to be, I can't toy with it because the lines are so blurry between the fantasy and the reality for this woman. You understand? Yeah. And so I can't even allow my critique to begin until we're further in and I can fully consume before I am taken away and wanting to and falling in love with these characters that I know Issa is going to make me fall in love with these characters. And so this is a part, you know, of the struggle, you know, and how much we allow media and other work to influence our work as artists. You know, everyone in this crew today are MCs. You know what I'm saying? So how much does media affect our work? As soon as we push play, I can't even listen to Beyonce right now because I'm too deep in creating and excavating like my own ideas. And the moment I push play, it's going to be affected. It's going to be affected, you know? And so where is that line?
You're just in a creative zone right now. And I get that. Like, you're in a creative zone right now. And more importantly, you're just in a space where, you know, you can't really entertain other people's artistry while you're focusing on your own. And that's just the artist's way of creating.
Not sure. Yep.
And so, you know, I respect that. I think that this rap shit, I think that there's an art. This is not just about telling the story of two women rappers, right? You know what I'm saying, Jules? Like, this is about making a statement.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? There's a statement that I think that Issa wants to make by showing that the whether it's the the misogyny in hip hop, whether that statement is that women should be able to speak their truth, you know what I mean, unapologetically, unfiltered, whether it's the statement of what B was saying, like all of the societal factors that have shaped you know, how when a woman sees herself, like there are statements that are being made, which is why I appreciate the show. And there's a certain level of honesty to the show. There's a certain level of authenticity there that I truly, truly appreciate.
So that's what I want to say too. So the best part about this show is the authenticity. So let me for the listeners and viewers, let me relate it back because I'm not them, if that makes sense. I don't have to deal with the misogyny. I don't have to deal with me using my body to get views and likes and like the way they portray it in the show. Okay. So let me relate this to the artist, quote unquote, the rapper, the MC on the panel. So I've been doing music for probably now 15 years, industry wise. My first two projects, Scorpio Fair, ASA2, and then even my first album, which I call everything's just a project. So all my first three projects, Art. So Art was my final project with my last label with that situation. So with the way I do music, I like to do music based off of what I like. So again, hence, that's why I understand the premise of this show, because it's the music that's out here right now is what the show is based off of. The way I construct my creative process is I base my music off of what I listen to, not what's popular, but about what I listen to. So there might be music on there that's not relatable. So let me fast forward. The music that I love to do and I love to rap over and the beats that I love to use are not your typical stuff that would get played in clubs. Hence why when there's so many of these Baltimore area concerts, you never see me opening up for Jeezy and Boosie and all them, because I make music and I make dope music, but I don't make the music that the masses that are coming to see them would be entertained for. So when Drake drops an album and he teases, and I had this conversation with a couple people. I said it's ironic. I said that Drake drops an album out of nowhere and it sounds completely different than what people are used to. And I said, you know what's going on here? I said, that's probably a behind the scenes conversation. I'm not saying this is true, so I can't verify. I have no sources. I'm just using my common sense. I said, I thought that was a behind the scenes conversation that Hov, which will, for the people that know who Hov is Jay-Z, for the non-culture people. Hov probably had a conversation with Drake and was like, hey, this is the direction that I think me and B about to jump on. You're the biggest artist from the male side. We want you to be the tester. Throw out an album that sounds housey, that sounds EDM, that sounds third world, and let's see how the reaction is. So when B drops her Break My Soul single, we already have that build up in place. Because if she would have dropped it out of nowhere, that would have kind of caught people off guard. But since Drake already dropped the whole entire album sounding like that, that's where you got to get the build up for Break My Soul. And then I listened to Renaissance. It's like, okay, yeah, she got a couple of things over here and some bangers. But that's my type of music. I love house music. I love EDM. So fast forward to my premise now. I haven't dropped an album since 2016. I dropped singles in between then. I've dropped a lot of SoundCloud. But the music I make is house and EDM music. So guess what that did for me? It now gave my fan base, oh, this is the stuff Jules already was doing. I just featured it on songs. So where I have an album with 16 songs, I might throw 2 or 3 songs that have the EDM and house feel, just to give people a preview of the direction that I'm thinking about going. Right. So it now allows me to give you the culture exclusive. Jules P has been working on his next album.
Come on.
Jules P has been writing his whole entire album. He's going to record it, and I'm going to actually plan to release it on my birthday. The thing that people need to understand is this is the album that I've always wanted to do. But when you're dealing with a label, they kind of sort of tell you what direction to go or what to do. Yeah, they say you have freedom, but I couldn't do my whole album, my house EDM album back then. I still had to have songs to pertain to this subject or songs to pertain to that subject or talk about what's going on. I mean, my last album, the reason it was so long ago, because that's literally when Freddie Gray had got killed. So it was like a lot of the music that I was doing was focusing on rebellion, regardless of how the beat sounded or how the movement was. But I was just like, bro, like this is too much. Like it just was body of Eric Gardner. Like it was so much going on at that time that I needed to break. So I took a little break. I dropped a single, maybe 2 years later, Toxic. Then I took another
80-year-old rapper, man.
That's why I just said the music that I focus on. Listen what I'm saying. That's why the music I focus on. I ain't talking about the rappers you listen to. I'm talking about the music I focus on. If you said me, the music.
Hip hop is gonna age with the culture they're creating.
Exactly.
You know,
that's what it is. Hey, look, the oldest rapper I'm gonna listen to forever is Jay-Z.
Forever.
He's 52.
So as you age and he ages, you'll end up listening to an 80-year-old rapper, Farajii.
I'm not. No, don't try to mince my words, B.
I'm just saying, like hip hop.
That's not cool. That's not how you try to use that reverse psychology. I'm just making a point.
That's what I do.
That's what.
But that's why I said. That's why I said.
I'm
like,
a woman.
That's the rap point. I'm like, all right. That's why I'm not just focusing solely on. I'm not Hov. I'm not. I can't talk.
No, nobody look. Hey, Jules, no, with nothing but love. I mean, I hear exactly what you're saying, and I'm just saying, like, Hov gets a pass because of the track record. You know what I'm saying? Like if you are a Jay-Z fan, like a Jay-Z fan for real, you just were like, I'm gonna listen to Hov until Hov stops rapping. It don't have to. It's not conditional for me. It's not like, oh man, with the moment he drops a whack song, I'm stop listening to this dude. It's like, nope, I'll take the whack song. What's he got next? You know what I mean? It's like, so. But I hear you. I definitely hear you. All right, let me get a couple of folks that are checking in right now who want to share their thoughts on this. And I appreciate everybody. Rashida, you checked in. You said rap shit is for the young 18 to 39. Yep, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. Thank you, Rashida. David, you checked in and say, look, they got one Florida girl from Jacksonville on there, but most of them don't sound like they from the 305. Yeah, that's called Hollywood, Davey. You know what it is. You know what it is. Look at The Wire. How come I never think I'm from Baltimore.
Yeah,
this is how you hear me. I'm from Baltimore.
Right.
You get Idris Elba, who is a British black man, to play a dude from Baltimore.
And I still can't disconnect Idris from Stringer Bell. Like,
and guess what? You would think that he is Stringer Bell. Like, oh no, Idris from Baltimore, right? And you'd be like, bro, the man talks about being a bloke.
I don't want to hear it. I want to hear him as Stringer.
Okay, so that's this Hollywood. Thank you, Dave. Jake, today you said this is loosely based on City Girls. If you don't listen to their music, then you wouldn't be interested. But Young Miami is dating Diddy, so the come up is real. Well, she was coming up regardless of Diddy. She might have made herself a little bit. The stock for her might have actually gone down as a result of her dating Diddy. I'm just going to throw that there.
Oh no.
Okay. Ming Lee, Natasha Surge, you say get these drill rappers to rap about voting. That might help.
No.
It's No, I agree with that 100%. No. Mm-mm.
No, they're not going to do that.
Listen. I don't even rap about voting. No.
I mean, maybe Meek Mill.
You can't do that.
Not 21 Savage. You can't get 21 Savage, Lil Durk.
You gotta get Harlow. Get Jack Harlow.
Right.
There we go.
All right, Sophia Gonzalez. Sophia, you checked in and said, we can't get people to read books or vote, but we already have another Love and Hip Hop show. How can I get hired for the Black Lobbying Party? No, I mean, look, here's the thing, folks. And Sophia, no, this is not Love and Hip Hop. This is not one of them shows. It really is. This is one of them shows that I think it's like a love letter to the hip hop culture. You know what I'm saying? Like this is a culture. And even though we don't understand it, some of us may not understand it. The culture is the voice of the next generation. Hip hop is the voice of the young. It's always been that. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, we laughing and joking about 50-year-old people, but at the end of the day, they're not the ones pushing the movement. You know what I'm saying? Like, even though Beyonce could drop a colossal album, there are still young women out there that's like,
right.
I'd rather play Summer Walker.
Summer Walker. Yeah, exactly. That's the point
You
I'm
know
making.
what I'm saying?
That's the point I'm making.
Like Beyonce's in one place, and a lot of these young black sisters, they in a different place. They're not listening to that. They may, and I'm not throwing shade on B, but I'm just saying they're in a different place. JT and Young Miami got the ears of these young black women. Trust and believe. Mike, you checked in and said young sister in her early 30s was at the house today. I had Confronting plan. That's the way it goes on Love Train. She was damn. Who's that? I said, my era. Yeah. You bring out Confronting.
When we invest in ourselves, our glow, our vision, our vibe, we all shine. Together, we are black beyond measure.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show, Get Wealthy, focuses on the things that your financial advisor and bank isn't telling you, but you absolutely need to know. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for a Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
When we invest in ourselves, we all shine. Together, we are black beyond measure.
Have a conversation about these rising cases of monkeypox. Now, if you are not familiar, it's okay. If you're still trying to figure out, well, what exactly is it? How does it affect me? Do I need to get a vaccine for it? All of those questions. And there are still a lot of questions about this viral condition. We can certainly help to try to answer as many of those questions as possible, because the next conversation that we're going to have is with a nurse practitioner. She's been a clinical nurse and has been studying this situation. She's been in the medical field for over 20 years, and she's seen a lot. But one thing she has not seen is this conflation of viral health issues that we've been dealing with over these past few months, going from COVID, now dealing with monkeypox. And it was just shared yesterday that there is a polio case that was revealed in New York. Polio. Wow. We want to welcome to the airwaves of the Black Star Network here on The Culture, Nurse Alice Benjamin. Nurse Alice, good afternoon. How are you today?
Good afternoon. I'm doing well. Hope you and the viewers are too.
We are doing well, considering, Nurse Alice. Considering. That's all I'm going to say, ma'am. Considering. I don't know where to start in terms of trying to wrap my mind around just some of the medical challenges that we are facing as a people, and of course as a country. And you know, you have been studying this. You have patients. You've been in the medical field for over 20 years. You are a clinical nurse on both the individual and the family side. Is this just totally like foreign to you in a sense of seeing all of these things happen at the same time?
Okay, so I want to preface this by saying that yes, I am a healthcare provider, but I'm also a consumer of health as well. And I'm a mother, I have a family. And so, yes, you know, all of the things collectively that have been happening, if we look at all of our health issues, we look at women's reproductive health issues and the battle that we've been having with that. You know, we look at COVID and we're barely getting our head above water when it comes to COVID. We, you know, somewhat are resuming normal activity, but, you know, they're saying infection rates are on the rise, and there's a new vaccine, the Novavax vaccine. So we're hearing a lot about that. The polio case in New York. And then now what's right in front of us that we're hearing a lot of these days is monkeypox. So, and, you know, monkeypox, and let me just also say this, I know we're going to talk about this later, but monkeypox is not a gay man's disease. I want to be very clear about that. You know, when we look at our LGBTQ community, a vulnerable population, women's health issues, vulnerable population. We look at COVID, brown and black people, vulnerable populations. I feel like, you know, all minorities, our health are really under attack, and we have to fight to stay healthy. And that starts with being informed and empowered. So I'm excited to get in today's conversation so we can help the people navigate through what seems like treacherous waters right now, just trying to stay well.
Yeah, I mean, I think we definitely need to stay well. So you're saying that monkeypox is not a gay man disease. Now, how do you say that? And then yet there is all of this other talk saying that it's being transmitted between two men who have intimate relations with one another. So break that down for us.
Okay, so monkeypox is a viral disease that stems from the monkeypox virus, which is a kind of a cousin, if you will, to smallpox. And I know that the folks who are greatly impacted, disproportionately impacted right now, are gay and bisexual men who have sex with men. That is the majority of people, but that does not mean that other people can't get it. There was actually a study in the New England Journal of Medicine, and they looked at I believe it was like 600 cases in various countries from April to May. And yes, about 98% of people who were infected were men. And yes, they did get it from intimate and sexual activity. However, the way that monkeypox is transmitted is not exclusively through sex. And there's nothing genetically different about gay and bisexual men that makes them predisposed to this. The way that monkeypox is transmitted is through contact, physical contact, intimate contact through sex. It could be through hugging, massage. It is contact primarily with the lesions, which have a very high viral load. We also believe that respiratory and saliva can carry a high viral loads of the virus, which is why, you know, really kissing someone, being up in someone's face, you know, exchanging those type of fluids, that is how it is transmitted primarily. Now, I'll say this: it happened with gay men. It doesn't. I mean, you know, although their activity. Let me back up. We believe that some of this got to the United States from a super spreader event that happened in Europe, and then people traveled, and it found its way to the United States. Now, while it may primarily right now be occurring in that population of people, they have partners, they have friends, they have families, they have children, and that contact, whether it's intimate and sexual, or it's just I'm hugging my mom, I'm hugging Nana, or whatever the case may be, that is an opportunity for it to spread. And in fact, there are women and children who now have contracted monkeypox. So we know that this is not just a gay person's disease. And we got to be mindful, because we saw this in the HIV/AIDS pandemic. And, you know, people labeled it a gay person's disease, didn't pay it much mind, didn't get the attention it needed until it spread to the general population. If we are not careful, if we do not educate ourselves, if we do not empower ourselves, and if we do not all take the precautions for this, we can find ourselves in a similar situation.
So we can't take this situation for granted. We can't act as if, oh no, I'm immune to this because as a man, I don't have sex with another man, so I'm good.
Absolutely. And I've actually heard patients say that, oh, I'm not worried about monkeypox because I'm not gay. I'm not a lesbian. I'm not, all of these things. And I had to explain to them the actual mode of transmission. And when I explain that to them, I mean, even as simple as this, because, I have friends and family members who are part of the LGBTQ community. If I go and, if one of them were to have monkeypox and I were to give them high five, hug them, give them dap, all those things, there is intimate contact there. And even when we look at, let's take the person who perhaps is bisexual, they contract monkeypox. They can have sex with men, they can have sex with women, then it spreads. Then the woman has it. The woman, unbeknownst to her, she has it. She can spread it to other people, to her children, to it's endless. There are so many opportunities to spread this, and we just need to be mindful of that so we can limit that.
So it's an external condition.
Yes.
Is that what I'm understanding, Doc? Okay, so it's an external condition, and just close contact, intimate contact can lead to its transmission. As we look at that, it just seems like that's super hard to try to protect yourself from. I mean, you use the AIDS, you talk about HIV, you talked about AIDS, and how, of course, we had a conversation about this yesterday, but you kind of use the invisible man analogy to say, like, and even with COVID, like we just don't know the full facts of how this thing is going to move, or how it may mutate, or how it may, be spread. Can we make that as something? Can we be honest about that at this point?
Well, yes, let's be honest. So this monkeypox is endemic to Central and Western Africa. And, we did have a small outbreak in 2003, but other than that, we've not dealt with this in the United States. We've just not. So, while the CDC and the public health department say, contact your healthcare provider, we as healthcare providers are real time getting information from the CDC. We are learning about it. We are, studying it. We are trying to keep up with things. So as people come to us for help, we know how to help you. But let's be very clear. I've not been treating this for years and years and years. I'm, unlike a heart attack or a stroke, I got that inside and out. I could say it in my sleep backwards. Even if I was, had a little adult beverage, I got it. But with monkeypox, this is new. So I'm just being honest, because people get frustrated. Like, oh, well, this doctor said this and this person said this, and why all the mixed messages? And I will be honest, I have colleagues who have initially also said, oh, this is a gay person's disease. And it is indeed not. And let me just insert this. We talked about intimate contact. This can also be transmitted through objects, bedding, linen. If you are sharing cups and, there's saliva share there. And I think I mentioned to you yesterday, we've all been to a hotel, right? What I recently learned is that while hotels may change the linens, the bed sheets, they do not always wash those comforters between guests. So, we would hope that
wait a minute, hold on, nurse. Hold on.
You could
listen. Nurse Alice.
Call your hotel before you go.
Wait a minute, hold on. Time out. You can't drop nothing like that on us, and then be like, all right, so I'm gonna move on to the next point. So in this day and age,
yes.
In this day and age where you can have a viral condition just from touch, just from contact, just from being in a space. Now you learn that hotels may not. So let's start with hotels. Let's not even speak about motels who have limited resources, right? But some of your major hotels don't always change the comforter. Yes. They change the sheets, but they don't always change the comforter.
That is indeed true. So even before monkeypox, we can all agree that that's gross. That, I imagine that they changed the whole bedding, but the linen, right, as well as the comforter. But listen, you can go online, you can look this up, you can contact your hotels and ask them. And let me say this, although like I said before, common sense isn't always common. Although we would think that they would do this, hotels are not hospitals. in the hospital mindset, we are very familiar with infectious diseases and the mode of transmissions. The housekeepers, the general managers of hotels aren't necessarily up to speed all the time when it comes to those things, which is why that, you know, we need education and outreach and to talk about things like that. So consumers can say, look, I need y'all to do this and hold them accountable. But when you are going to your favorite hotel, which, you know, it's summertime, people have traveled, you need to call ahead of time and ask them what are their cleaning practices of their rooms. And I want to say this, it's the lesions. When someone has monkeypox, it generally starts off with flu-like symptoms. Then they'll develop usually like a dark spot. It'll become raised. Then it'll become fluid-filled. Then it'll be, you know, scab over, dry up, and new skin will emerge. And then, you know, that's the course of what happens with monkeypox. But it's the rashes. It's those raised bumps that are fluid-filled that carry the most viral load. And it's when that fluid gets onto the bedding is what makes the bed sheets a concern with, you know, with potentially spreading infection. So that's why we're talking about comforters are so, you know, how many times have you gone into a hotel and not gone into the sheets and just laid on top of the comforter?
Yeah, not anymore.
Not anymore. You're gonna bring your own sheets.
I mean, all right, this will be a great time to get some feedback from our watchers, and folks, post your comments. But many of you are already at this point with the whole situation. All right, King, I see you, brother. Brother King Lee checked in and said, okay, so what the hell am I supposed to freaking do? Walk around in a chemical suit? I am tired of this crap. Nurse Alice. What can we do? At this point, it's like, I've literally talked to people who, you know, dealing with COVID. They're like, you know what? If I get it, I get it. You know what I'm saying? Like people are just kind of over trying to quote unquote protect themselves. They say, look, I'll wear a mask if necessary, but I'm not going to restrict my movements. I'm not going to be, you know, you have masks, you have face masks, you got face shields, now we're talking about, you know, you could be simply somebody rub up against you in a crowded space and you might, you know, transmit something to you. I'm like, King Lee, like what are people supposed to do at this point?
So welcome to my world, because in the ER and the ICU, I must gown up, wear masks all the time because I understand the mode of transmission. I understand, right. I get it. You fatigue, you tired, you want to get back to normal life. You're tired of the mask and you feel like you want to I just might be in a bubble. However, I still want to, you know, say, do that if you want to, but then when you end up in my ER and my ICU bed, you're going to sit there and say, man, I wish I would have done this and that. I hear that so much, even with people from other medical conditions, like they've had a heart attack. Oh, I wish I would have, you know, ate healthier, just exercise a little bit more. So people who've come in with COVID, and I've had people who are anti-vaxxers, don't want to wear a mask, like, I don't care, this is made up and blah, 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 blah. They've ended up in my ER, my ICU bed, and they're like on oxygen, can't breathe. And they're like, I wish I would have got the vaccine. Give me everything you got. You want all of the interventions and the help post, but an ounce of prevention could have gone such a long way, because I also want to say there is no treatment or cure for monkeypox. It is viral. It must run its course. And all we can do at this moment is to treat your symptoms. And quite honestly,
So given that, and I'm glad that you brought that point up, if that's the case, if there is something coming from the federal government that says, hey, we have a vaccine that can cure you of monkeypox, that may not be accurate. That may not be true.
So we
as given based upon what the medical with medical professionals like you and others know about monkeypox right now, you cannot be cured of it.
Correct. There is no cure for monkeypox. Now we do have 2 vaccines that have been FDA approved for smallpox, but in this situation, because monkeypox is kin to smallpox, it's being allowed some compassionate use for that. So we have the Janos vaccine, which is a 2-dose vaccine. You get it, and then come back 4 weeks later, and then there's 2 doses to that. And then there's the ACAM 2000, which is a 1-dose vaccine. But That one we're a little leery about giving unless we absolutely need to, because with that one, they're both live viruses, but with that second one, you actually will develop a small lesion and it's going to go through its course. So we don't necessarily want to give that. So there's 2 vaccines to prevent. And if you are someone who's in high risk, let me just say this, if you're someone who's high risk, meaning you are someone who is gay or bisexual, who has sex with men and have engaged, especially in group activity that may put you at risk, or have more than 2 partners, as the CDC is saying, or feel you've been exposed, you want to right away call your primary health care provider or call your local public health department and ask, where can I go to get this vaccine? We have vaccine clinics popping up left and right. We know that this is a major issue, so we're trying to get a handle on it. Now, that's prevention. Now, once you have symptoms of monkeypox, it's usually self-limiting, but I'll say this, many people have said it's painful. It's extremely uncomfortable, especially depending on where the lesions are, because those lesions can also end up in your throat, your mouth, and actually internally. And so, not a pretty sight to see, and especially not something that feels good at all. But in those situations, we do have antivirals, which we can give you IV, and we also have immunoglobulin that we can give you IV, but those have been reserved for very extreme cases.
Let me ask you this, Nurse Alice. How long can the virus survive on the surface?
That we do not know yet. We do not know yet. We do know that it can survive on inanimate objects because people have tested positive and reported having monkeypox, but they've had no international travel. They've not, they don't identify as someone from the LGBTQ community. And so when they've described, when tracers have talked to them about what their activities are, it's been determined that, it's happened from an inanimate object. And there was one woman in the United States, they're still fleshing out her story, but she's actually reported getting exposed through money, which is very rare. But I just thought, you're gonna Google it, you're gonna read it. So I figured you might as well hear it from my mouth first. And so, but we're still fleshing out her story. You still have to figure out what other activities this person engages in, who's in their household, other things like that. But she strongly believes that is the only place where she's had her contact, and because of people who've tested positive who've also handled money, apparently. So we're still learning a lot. So let me just say this, we are still learning a lot. You're going to hear lots of unique stories, and until we can catch up, till the scientific community can catch up with data, evidence, all these things, it's going to be something where, I'm not really sure, so let me just take all the precautions I can until I know for certain that I cannot get it from this mode of transmission.
So, and also I think that we need to make this clear. As of right now, based upon the cases, how many people have actually died from monkeypox?
So, where it's endemic,
or is this something that you may not die from? You may not actually, you may catch it, but it doesn't mean that it's a fatal virus condition, right?
Correct. So, in where this is endemic to in Africa, there have been deaths reported that are a very small amount. I was reading one study, out of 25,000 people, there was a reported 9 deaths. So it's not something that we anticipate people dying from. So, people might say, okay, well, then that may give people a false sense of security, like, well, I'm not going to worry about it. However, there are different strains of this monkeypox. Now, I'm not saying that this is going to mutate. However, if you learn from your past, you apply the lessons learned so you can be better in the future. So taking a page out of COVID's book and taking a page of what has happened in Central and West Africa and other countries, we want to be mindful that although we don't anticipate a mutation of monkeypox, which right now we have the Central African strain, we want to just be careful because we don't know exactly what's going to happen, because that's how viruses survive. They learn how to mutate in their host,
right?
Because they want to continue living. So right now death is very, very low, low probability of having. But I'll tell you this, if you do get it, extremely painful, uncomfortable. And we didn't even get into the mental aspects of what this does to people, the discrimination, the stigmatization that happens to someone once they have this, because some people out there are just really mean to people. And especially when we look at the LGBTQ community, they're already a marginalized group. And this adds another layer onto it. And even if you're not someone who identifies that with that group, we believe that the number, which is currently about 6,300 cases in the United States, is underreported because people don't want to come out forward and say, this is what I have, for being afraid of being labeled and stigmatized for perhaps their lifestyle choices or for being identified of that community when they are not, so there's lots of layers to this.
So the other part about it also, Nurse Alice, is, and I'm glad that you made that point, that there's the stigmatization, around it. But, I still feel like people are going to just be operating out of fear, right? People are still going to just respond like, oh my God, I got monkeypox. And then it's going to go into a whole different space. How can we have some very realistic and important conversations, honest, truthful conversations about this? That's the part one of my question. And then looking at how the United States government and the CDC dealt with the whole COVID-19 pandemic. Should we place our faith that the Biden administration, the CDC, and some of these other medical institutions are going to give us the proper and accurate and one message about monkeypox?
Well, you bring up a good point, because I will say this, the CDC, the federal government, did a horrible job of communicating to the public about COVID, especially when we didn't know as much as they made it seem like we knew. We were learning real time. We were gathering data from all over the world.
Tell the damn truth, man.
Yes. So
just tell the truth. If you don't know, just tell the American people, we don't know what the hell we're trying to do. But this is science. This is medicine. We learn and go. Tell the people the truth.
I absolutely agree. And I think that some of the people who, are at those levels of communication, dispersing that type of information, really are not in tune to dealing with vulnerable and marginalized communities, because oftentimes they didn't look like us. They didn't know our struggles. They're like, oh, social distance 6 feet away. Well, I'm a social distance if we live in a two-bedroom apartment, there's 8 of us. I mean, help me understand. So, we really need people who look like us, who understand our struggle, to communicate these things, which is why I pride myself on talking to people before they become my patients, because I want you to have that bit of information. Even if I'm not your provider, you can go to whoever your provider is and ask them the hard questions, and just be prepared. They may not know because they don't know our struggle. And that's just fact. So, but when it comes to the monkeypox, I believe the government in many of these states, especially those who've declared public health states of emergency, they've learned from COVID. Like, oh, no. Let's nip this in the bud. Let's activate this so we can get resources, manpower going, so we can get vaccine and education outreach going, so we can coordinate better, so we can get more vaccines. So that piece that they're doing better in. At least I'm in California, and California, New York, and Illinois are those states that have done that. So that's a step in the right direction. But now communication and dissemination of this to the public, while delicately not trying to stigmatize the LGBTQ community, is going to be their struggle, because they already fumbled it. They fumbled the ball when they were communicating to the general public. Now, when you're trying to communicate this without singling out this community, because they are not responsible for the spread of monkeypox. I want to say that nobody's at fault. This is a communicable disease that's spread by a virus. The monkeypox virus is at fault for the monkeypox virus. That's clear. That's fact. So I'm hopeful that they will partner up with community organizations, partner up with the LGBTQ community, and then also, allies of that community, to make sure we are disseminating this information in a way that is important and meaningful to everyone. So like I said, I've had people say, oh, this doesn't impact me, I'm not gay. Well, let me read you real quick and tell you how this transmits, and how you shouldn't say those type of things. So it's like a twofer. I'm gonna have to educate you on your etiquette, and then also educate you on how this disease is spread. So I can't say for sure that they're gonna get it right the first time, but you got people like me that are here to help, and people like yourselves who are allowing us to talk about this on your platforms is really meaningful.
And the other part about that too, Nurse Alice, is the fact that if if you've already taken the COVID vaccine, you already got boosted, and then folks start to say, well, you could take this vaccine to deal with monkeypox, or this vaccine to deal with the polio situation. I mean, it's a lot going into the body. And there are a lot of people in this country that are against this whole idea of constantly being medicated to deal with these like outside, external threats. How do where is the reconciliation of those two forces? People want to, I think, and I'm the same way. I want to be healthy. I want to keep my family healthy, but I don't want a whole bunch of different chemicals coming into my body. And then, as the industry is trying to learn and go, and then my health becomes compromised as a result of it. And then to add on top of that, you got policies where you can't, if you do fall ill, if you do, you become severely sick, you can't go to Pfizer or can't go to any other pharmaceutical companies and say, hey, your product make me sick, because guess what? They're protected. So, it puts us as the American people in a very, very precarious position.
Yes, I understand. And so for people who may not know, for most vaccines that are FDA approved, if we encounter an injury or a reaction, we can generally, notify the manufacturer, and then that begin a process of some type of compensation or trying to make this right. With the vaccines, the COVID vaccines, especially since they were emergency use authorized. However, FDA, actually Pfizer is now FDA approved. So that there may be some changes in that. I'm unsure about that piece, because you actually may be able to come back to Pfizer now. But when it comes to the vaccines, I know it seems like a lot of medicine being injected into someone, especially if you're concerned about what is it really doing to my body. So we've encouraged people, I'd rather you be protected than not. So if that means that you space this out, by all means, space this out. Now, when it comes to someone who is vaccinated and boosted from COVID, so perhaps if you have Pfizer or Moderna, because those two vaccines have a small risk of what we call pericarditis or myocarditis, which is inflammation around the heart. We recommend that you space the vaccine. So if you're going to get a Moderna or a Pfizer vaccine, but then you're going to go get your monkeypox vaccine, we ask that you wait at least 4 weeks in between, so you don't increase your risk of developing the inflammation around your heart. Because one vaccine alone, you have a small risk, but two vaccines together that both have those risks, we ask you to space those out. But I get it. A lot of vaccines, and it seems like they're all coming at you at once. You're a little leery because you don't really understand the science. We don't have long-term data yet. Perfectly reasonable, and it's okay to feel that way. This is where you as a consumer can do your due diligence, do research, talk to your healthcare provider, ask questions. And if you still, and this is how I am. I'm a healthcare provider, but I'm here to empower you so you can make the best decisions for yourself. I can't make you do something. You can ask me, Nurse Alice, what would you do? I can tell you what I would do, but ultimately at the end of the day, it's your decision. I'm going to respect your decision. But and even if you choose not to get vaccinated, I'm still going to offer you tips and suggestions on how to keep yourself safe. But if you ask me, Nurse Alice, would you get these vaccines if and which, by the way, even as a healthcare provider right now, I'm not eligible for a monkeypox vaccine, although I might be at risk for it because there's such a limited amount. But if you ask me, Nurse Alice, when the time comes, if you're eligible and you can have access to this vaccine, would you? And my answer is going to be yes.
And it still comes down to you making the best choice, using the best intelligence for you and your family. Oh, I'm glad that you shared that part, because some people will bring you that doomsday gospel, Nurse Alice, and act as if and act as if you can't think for yourself. Like, oh no, you gotta just empower people.
What happens when you do that? If you really press someone, they're gonna be like, well, what's wrong? What's wrong? Why are you pressing me? Like they're gonna say no, right? You're gonna further push them away. So I'm gonna go ahead and give you the information, and I'm gonna let you chill, process it, and then allow you to come up with that yourself, because we're partners in healthcare. Actually, I work for you as a provider. So
Absolutely.
I'm gonna let you know.
Absolutely. Nurse Alice Benjamin. Nurse Alice has been working in the field of medical and healthcare for over 23 years. She's a board certified clinical nurse specialist and a family nurse practitioner. She has practiced at such places such as Cedars-Sinai Medical Center and Sharp Memorial Hospital, done extensive research in the area of burn and trauma and emergency medicine. She has done work on the whole COVID-19, and now she is, as you can hear, folks, she's still learning about this monkeypox situation. But I'm happy to know that we have a sister that is giving us some reasonable recommendations on how to move forward. Nurse Alice Benjamin, thank you so much, and we look forward to bringing you back on as we continue this situation.
Thank you for having me. You guys live well, okay? Make good health choices.
Absolutely, absolutely. Folks, we got to take a quick pause. When we come back, let's talk about Airbnb and how superhosts are now under scrutiny for selling people wolf tickets about the places that people are renting, and how there seems to be a trend that is racially motivated superhosts to use slave plantations and other slave sites. So sites where we should call sacred ground as Airbnb Airbnb places. We'll talk about that. So stay with us. That conversation is going to happen as we move forward right here on The Culture on the Black Star Network. We'll be right back.
When we invest in ourselves, we all shine. Together, we are black beyond measure.
I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show, Get Wealthy, focuses on the things that your financial advisor and bank isn't telling you, but you absolutely need to know. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
When we invest in ourselves, we're investing in what's next for all of us. Growing, creating, making moves that move us all forward. Together, we are black beyond measure.
All right, folks, welcome back to the show. Welcome back to the show. All right, now let's have a conversation about Airbnb. If you're like me, as you're traveling and you're moving around, you know, sometimes the hotel decision, making a decision to be at a hotel, could now consider what Nurse Alice Benjamin shared with us about cleanliness. Man, it's going to have us thinking twice about hotel stays. But if you have been like me, you know, you find that sometimes hotels can be pretty costly. I mean, really, really costly, to be honest. And now a lot of people have decided to use Airbnb, which are pretty much more like apartments and homes, to accommodate their needs. Folks have found that Airbnbs are more amenable to families. You know, they bring you a certain level of comfort when you're traveling. You have more amenities at your disposal. Well, what about when now it seems to be a trend where Airbnb superhosts and hosts are selling us wolf tickets, meaning that they describe this place as being fantastic. They describe this place as being this and having that, and you will be close to this, and all of those things are happening, only for you to find that once you get there, guess what, folks? It is not like what they describe. Here's the situation. This happened to as one superhost was recently exposed by a TikTok user for telling people that that they were going to have access to a state-of-the-art place. Take a look at this, folks. TikTok exposed this Airbnb host for listing slave quarters as a cozy stay. The spot had a 4.97 rating, folks, and 68 reviews, which were mostly submitted by white people. This was an Airbnb called the Panther Burn College at Belmont Plantation. Man, oh man, the Panther Burn Cottage, excuse me. And there, the superhost there his name was Brad. He listed the cabin as a 2-guest, 1-bed, and private bath stay. Aside from the fancy LCD smart TV, Netflix access, and other modern amenities, the description of the place includes a watered-down account of the history of the location. According to the Post, it read this: this particular structure, the Panther Burn Cabin, is an 1830 slave cabin from the extant Panther Burn Plantation to the south of Belmont. It has also been used as a tenant sharecropper's cabin and a medical office for local farmers and their families. Wait a minute. So we're using slave quarters now as Airbnbs? You mean to tell me that in 2022, the race question, the race conversation has become so crazy that the places where our people were enslaved are now being used as an Airbnb location with Netflix access? I want to bring in my brother Shinedu Wakofor, who is a diversity inclusion specialist and equity specialist, to talk to us about what is really happening and more importantly, the impact on race, the conversation of race as it relates to this issue. Brother Shinedu, I appreciate you being with us this afternoon.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Brother Shinedu, what the hell is going on?
I just think this is just another example of America's insatiable lust to capitalize off of trauma. You would not see an Airbnb opening up in Auschwitz or any other place that holds a sacred space in the lives of people. I think this is just this is one of those things that make me think about when African Americans say, can we address the impacts of slavery? This is not what we're talking about. And there seems to be some obsession, some zeal, some urge, some lust for tampering with sacred grounds, places that should not even be stepped upon, which reminds me that America maybe hasn't learned her lesson from, you see America apologizing to, we see that Pope Francis was recently in, I think, Alberta, Canada, where he apologized to Indigenous people for not only the atrocities that the Catholic Church has accorded to them, but about sacred grounds that were taken. And America makes that same statement as well when it comes to native land. But then you see something like this and ask yourself, is it just lip service? This is very disturbing, and I think it's very telling in many things that we see in modern day America.
Yeah, I mean, it's disturbing and telling, and one of the big things that that I'm concerned with is that now that the history, the pain, the trauma of a people continues to be, like you say, to be capitalized, it continues to be washed over. It continues to be, fodder for amusement. And this is the thing. In this country, you know, we have been having these conversations about critical race theory, right, Sinead? And so many people have been like, oh man, we need to have this stuff in schools. But I'm starting to become more and more convinced, and I don't know about anyone else, but I'm starting to become more and more convinced America doesn't care about history. It doesn't care about what the experiences of a people really are or have been. It doesn't care about that stuff. And I don't know, it's not just, and I mean, we can act as if there is a real sacred space or there is an acknowledgement of people's history. But when you start to see something of this magnitude happening, you ask yourself, like, you know, is it a moot point for us to even have a conversation about, you know, including history? Because it's not just about teaching it. I mean, if you are in America, whether you're white or black, Asian, Latino, if you are in this country, you mean to tell me you don't know anything that you were never taught about the transatlantic slave trade? You were never taught that black people were enslaved in the southern parts and in other parts of this country. You mean to tell me you are just that completely oblivious? It's just hard for me to believe. Or is it just the simple fact that you don't care? You don't care about the history. You don't care about the pain. You don't care about the trauma. You don't care about, you know, desecrating sacred ground and using it for capital means. I'm starting to see people for who they are rather than who I hope for them to be. Talk to me, Sinead.
Yeah, I think education is the least of the worry, because we were educated to understand that Confederate states lost the battle. However, there's still some level of reverence towards Confederacy and that flag, and you see people who carry it, they carry it with so much respect, honor, and valor. It's just a simple thought of America being very choosy, if you will, towards the history that they think is the one that you should care about. Hence the critical race theory conversation. There's parts of our history that America just does not have an interest in respecting. They'll make mentions of Martin Luther King's speeches, but put no actions towards the words he pontificated. And that just has been America. And quoting Martin Luther King's words, you know, he famously said, you know, be true to what you said on paper. America says one thing and clearly does another. I just think this situation is heinous. I'm glad Airbnb is taking the correct steps, I'm hoping, to solve this matter amicably. But get off of Airbnb for a second. An American, a human being, thought that it would be prudent to rent out a slave quarters that were used to treat people like cattle. And we see America make, back to my example of the Confederacy, when we wanted to take statues down within the last 2 or 3 years, you saw so much people make reverence and say, no, there's no way this could happen. But you don't promote the freedom and respect of America if you do one thing on the left and don't follow the other on the right. To me, it speaks highly on the lack of respect that people have for the struggle that Black people made and the enjoyment. I'm sorry, if you ask me, I would conflate this to the enjoyment that white people used to have of watching Black people get lynched. I don't see a difference here.
Brother, I mean, definitely, I definitely get the same vibe, and I think that is the most. That's one of the perfect analogies. It's like, hey, people's pain is you know what I mean, some type of circus act. You know what I mean? Like oh yeah. I mean, when you look at what's actually being said about this Airbnb and some of the reviews that came in, I mean, and I can't tell, Brother Sinead, whether these are real reviews or they, you know, or not. But some of the reviews from white people saying, oh, this was memorable. Highly recommend watching the sunset. One review said, another review said, enjoyed everything about our stay. The cottage, the history, the tour, breakfast, all of it was great. And then another review called it a delightful place to step into history. Now, and see, when you're talking about making mockery of a people's pain, one of the most traumatic events in American history. But then you want us to believe that you want us to believe that you're trying to move forward, that you really care. That message get lost in the laughing and the mockery that you make of our experience. That gets lost because guess what? You've shown that you don't care. And the silliness here, to add to that, Brother Sinedu, the silliness is that some Black folks will still try to defend some of this thinking. And I always tell people, like, yeah, white supremacy is such a poisonous philosophy and ideology that it can turn people into almost like beasts. You know what I'm saying? It just makes people other than themselves and exhibit savage thinking and savage behavior, that you gloat in the hurt and the pain of another person or another people, that you think it's funny that we went through that experience. But then you get all up in your feelings when you hear Black people talk hard about white people. So I just don't understand it. It's hard for me to reconcile, bro. You know what I mean? It's hard for me to, and it's hard for, as a student of history, it's hard for me to be like, well, they just don't know no better. No. I truly believe, and you please, Brother Sinedu, you can definitely check me. In 2022, if you are still exhibiting this level of ignorance about history, it's not because you've never been taught. It's because you choose to be in that space. It's not that you haven't had a chance to learn. You choose to be in that space. That's what I'm getting, bro. That's what I'm getting.
Yeah, I've always had this strange concern about, some of these things, and I would be hard pressed, since the reviews spoke highly on a historical significance. I'd be highly pressed to know how many of these people have came to the Blacks and Wax Museum here in Baltimore, or the Museum of African American History designed by David Ajayi in DC, and how many of them would want to sleep there? Because it's one thing to go to a house and say, oh yeah, it's for historical significance. I don't think in those houses, I could be corrected, that they have the graphic explanation of really what took place. But I think I fancy this around how people like to go to a haunted place or a place that has some type of paranormal activity. It's a thrill. And that is very dangerous when you get thrilled by the trauma of other people. And I brought up museums because, again, I want to see who wants to go. If you haven't been, I want to see who wants to go to the basement of the Blacks and Wax Museum and sleep there, of any race. Or better yet, the question is, why are you doing that? There is, let me give you an example. There is Colonial Williamsburg here in the eastern region of the States that is very much known for a lot of American history. I think the Battle of Appomattox was fought not too long from Colonial Williamsburg. And what I find very respectful is they will have places for you to find refuge that are not on those sacred lands. My question is, why do you want to sleep there what then is your gain? And then you say things about watching the sunset. The people who lived there, who suffered there, they weren't enjoying the sunset. The sun and the moon were their navigational tools to find their ways to freedom. So to trivialize this pain into it's not that big of a deal, it makes me laugh. And if you want to be a student of history, if you are interested of historical significance, may I suggest that for ethnographic research purposes, maybe you move into West Baltimore or on Slauson Avenue, so you can get into current history of what's happening. If you're so interested in knowing the history, let's not always look at what was. Let's go see what is. And if you're really interested, move into those areas. But in those areas, those same people would run out of fear of what could currently befall them. So I call bullshit, first and foremost, that this is just yet another ploy or play in white people's affinity. And Dr. Frances Cress Welsing talked about this, the affinity of white people to be obsessed over Blackness as a sense of a commodity. Right back to how much of the funds of that Airbnb is going back to Black preservation or Black change agent organizations? These are all questions that I'm just curious to know.
All questions. All questions. These are very, very serious questions, Brother Shanadu. You know what I'm saying? Like, at the end of the day, these are very serious questions. And it's not just about Airbnb, because this is just like I said, that's just a platform that people use. But the level of ignorance underneath all of the Airbnb drama is the fact that, as much as we want to believe, and I generally don't like to talk about certain stories like this, right? I don't like, because the race conversation can become a very circular conversation. We can talk about the craziness that white people, the things that white people say, the things that white people do. We get all riled up, we get all upset and mad, and then what? It becomes like this, like, all right, we get mad, all right, then we calm down, and then, without any radical change to how we are, right? To radical change in our behavior, radical change to policy. So unless we're going to move the needle forward, I think that's important. The reason I brought this particular story up is because of, one, what we're seeing in the level of fraud that is on these spaces, right? That was once used, it's a simple thing. Hey, you want to rent out a space? You can rent out a space. You don't have to go to a hotel. Now it becomes this racial thing. And now we have to have a conversation about the sensitivity of Airbnb hosts of certain places. Now we got to have a conversation about which spaces are off limits to rent. You know what I mean? Like, and people, and this is the poison. I'm going back to this, Brother Shanadu. This is why when we have conversations about race, the poison of white supremacy penetrates and oozes in every single aspect of life. All we were simply talking about is renting a place to have when we go on vacation, when we go out of town. Now, as Black folks, we got to look to see if the damn superhost is a racist.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't run away from this. And guess what? It's not on Black people to fix. How can the oppressed be charged with fixing the oppressor? We don't have any power, quote unquote. We got power, but I'm saying no, I hate it. I absolutely hate it. And we got to get out of the thinking and put it back right on to other white people and say, get your man. You gotta, if you are a good intentioned, conscious white person that you are sick and tired of racism just as much as we're sick and tired of racism, then you better get your man, get your woman, because we can deal with them.
but you may not like the outcome. If we deal with them the way we want to deal with them, you may be like, well, you want to slow that thing down. You know what I'm saying? Like, because we, this is a different generation. This is a different time. We're not going to keep doing this. I'm not passing this madness and this garbage on to my children, man. This thing's got to end. I mean, just keep it real. This thing's got to end, brother Sinead. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're not dealing with this. This shit got to end, man.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We lost too many good black people to racist acts, to racist policies, to mockery, to racism, mating jokes. This shit has got to end.
Yeah, and if I may, I would even put a charge out there. If folks are so interested in history, like I would like to see that same energy to push towards critical race theory, to push towards things of that nature, since you are so interested in history, because, you know, in my opinion, history is sometimes forgotten when it pertains to certain people, but it's just, again, and I think a lot of times it's been my experience, I would say, that white people love to get a charge out of black people. And again, I'm attributing that to what I see when police call a black person boy, or to when slave masters used to whip the enslaved. It was a charge. It was an excitement. The same way that somebody could write a review like that, that seems so joyous and jovial, it can be directly attributed to their ancestral foolishness that existed in this country and exists in this country. And furthermore, you know, I think about an article written by a black woman, Deneen Brown, with the Washington Post. I helped her co-author that article, and she was talking about the traumas that people see, that black people, when we watch a black body being shot in the street by police, what that does to black people mentally, and how there's a belief that that experience, is DNA altering, right? Just like they say slavery is. So to see somebody to then go into that space of unhealed trauma and similarly do the same thing. There are black people that don't even want to step foot on a plantation because the magnitude of what took place is so heavy. But to be white is to have that sense of authority that makes you feel like you can go anywhere. And that is a geopolitical issue. It's not just about racism. It's this idea. It's funny. They told us in Pocahontas, they said, you think you own whatever land you land on. The earth is a dead thing you can claim. White people have this belief that they can go anywhere, that no place is off limits. And for as long as we, unfortunately oppressed, in my opinion, for as long as we make that okay, of course we can't change them, but we must put the emphasis that you can't cross this. There is a reason why you can't rent out a place in Auschwitz, because the folks that went through the Holocaust stand by that this could not happen again, and no one could step foot in this space unless it's out of reverence and reverence alone. I think Black folks, it's not our fault, but it might be time, like you said, that we have to quote unquote check our mans and say that this cannot happen. And that I don't like to instill fear, but fear seems to be the only language that white people understand, that you cannot step here. And if you do, ellipses, ellipses, ellipses.
Facts. All right, let me take a couple of comments because people are checking in on this. Janae, you posted a comment, say Ryan Coogler and Jordan Peele need to make a movie of us enslaving whites, and we can say we just want to play it out and make it a #1 hit. Let's roll reverse since they want to know what it was like. I mean, some folks might laugh at that, but you know. That is, and Sinead, you know, like I know, that is one of the top fears that if we were to reverse, if we were to get into a more powerful position, that we would do unto them as they have done unto us. That's a fear. And I'm not saying for every white person, that's not the case, but I'm saying that because here's why that's a fear. They know, the whole world knows in particular, that in this country, Black people are waking up. Black people are waking up. Now, some of us may not, I'm saying some of Black folks may not believe that, bro. But the reality is there is a conscience that has emerged on the scene today. And that consciousness is forcing the next generation and some of the elders of this generation to say enough is enough. There is a new consciousness that's present today. And people know it. The world can see it. We are waking up. It may not be based upon your timeline, my timeline, but guess what? God's will be done. I truly believe that. I truly believe that. This ain't racism. This ain't nothing, no hatred of any time. I'm just saying the simple fact that you can't keep a people down and oppress and ignorant for so long and not expect justice to prevail to where that people that have been oppressed for so long will not wake up from their slumber and not fight against their oppressor. You can't do it. There's no time in history of any people where they were perpetually in a slave relationship and they never woke up. America woke up to its slave place to the British. We can go through all of the other histories of this world. People know that when Black people in America in particular, when we fully say enough is enough, we wake up. That means our brother in Africa is waking up. Our brother and sister in the islands are waking up. Hell, the Black people in Europe are waking up. It's over. It's over. The day of keep making mockery of our pain is over. Let's go. Shalinda, you said they couldn't care less. We're talking about folks that we trained on everything, and they turned around and effed us. Human trafficking, raping our men, women, and children. Yeah. Yeah. David, you checked in and said, look, the slave was a commodity. Now the slave quarter is a commodity. Right. Right. And we should say something about it. Honestly, we need to say something about it. Airbnb, I don't know, and maybe this is the other part of it on a policy side and relates to this particular issue, Brother Shanadu. But maybe Airbnb should send out somebody to do an assessment of these properties. It might be too much to do. I don't know. But if you're getting, some really, disturbing information about a certain property, or you're getting pictures. I mean, I don't know, Keenan, if you could pull up the picture of what the cabin looked like. Just let me know, Keenan, and at least my team. Let me know when you could pull up that picture, and start to look at it and be like, hey, wait a minute, this don't look right. So I don't know. Mike, you checked in. Mike Green, you say, look, there is definitely a difference between a people who built pyramids and a people who built nuclear warheads. Hello. Come on. Mike, thank you, sir. Lana, my sister, you said, but Farajii, it is. We must stop spending. We let all of these companies disrespect us and shop there tomorrow. Support your own. And I ain't talking Byron Allen. Yeah. Hey, man. Look, man, I'm so blessed because on this platform, we got some of the most conscious people I ever came across in an online space. They know they tired too. My audience is tired. We're tired of this shit, man.
Yeah.
All right, Belinda, you checked in. Good. Thank you so much, Lana. Belinda, you checked it. Well, we should have known this wasn't creative thought out to share with Black people. Remember our place in the consumer spaces. Yeah. Yeah. Danita, thank you so much, Belinda. Always good to hear from you. Danita, you checked in and said, I'm so damn heated right now. Well, let me be honest. I'm heated almost every day. I know that's right. I know that's right. I know that's right. I want to, when y'all, and Keenan, at least when y'all get the chance, let's show that space to that Airbnb that this superhost Brad put out there. Let's show that when we get a chance, man. But it's sickening. And I'm going back to that same analogy that you said before, Sinead. You said it's so similar to what we saw back in the days when our people were getting lynched and they had pictures. There's a book that I often reference that talk about the thinking. All you got to do is a book full of pictures. One of the most powerful pictorial history books that we have, called Without Sanctuary. And in that book, you just see pictures of how the lynching of Black people in this country was a public event. Public event. Black man or woman hanging from a tree. People gathered around, smiling and laughing, eating food like it's a show. Public spectacle of killing us. So we not dealing with, this is triggering. and you know, in medical terms, this is triggering. You make a mockery of our pain. But then if we were to respond in kind, if we made mockery of your pain, then how would you respond? Then how you would respond? Go ahead, brother. Look at this. Here we go. Look at this, y'all. Look at this. How do you post that and see this?
What's the definition of of empathy again? You don't have to experience what I'm experienced to know that it was a bad experience. And I don't see the justification of why they had to sleep there to fill the history. Read, damn it. Do y'all know how to read? Read. Like, you can read. I think words are so powerful that you can read and imagine being in the place. You don't have to. They say books take you on a journey. Just looking at that, even just me seeing that, and I've seen this article a billion times now, but it triggered me. It got me stirred up. And I did want to touch on something that was one of the comments about the Jordan Peele and the film, and the comment about building pyramids rather than nuclear bombs. And I will always say this about Black people. Black people are about protection and not projection. White people have to project. They have to project. When we were building pyramids, it wasn't to destroy anything. But they, white people, have always had to build incredible things as a sense of projection. We can see it in the nation's capital with the obelisk. It's always a level of projection of something, of them explaining that they're greater, better, so on and so forth. So no, if Black people did have the opportunity, we wouldn't do that, because that's not what we do. The Negroid race, okay? When you look at the makeup of the Negroid versus the Caucasoids and the Mongoloids and the Australoids, we were not built, we were not manufactured to act in that way. Human has things that are human nature, but those type of things that white people did, it is exclusive to them. And I don't think in any world would anybody of the Black race be interested in taking up that mantle. I just don't think that.
Absolutely.
No equal playing.
Absolutely, bro. There's none. There's none. So as we close out on this part of the discussion, Brother Sinedu, you know, when you're dealing with a circumstance like this, not just on the Airbnb piece, but just also dealing with the attitude about slavery, the mockery of that history. Where do we have those conversations? You know what I mean? Especially if you know, I mean, this story is a national story. So how do we have those conversations with coworkers, with neighbors? Like, you know, do you recommend that we don't have these conversations in those one-on-one circumstances, and we look at it as a group circumstance? How do we take this, not just stay in a space of anger, but move it in a space of progress and some, hopefully leading to some solution?
Well, I think it's important to have the conversations, period. And I think it's important to express what pains you before you're pained. And I think that's why, for me, I would want to have a conversation with coworkers about, hey, have you, just like we'll say, hey, the new Beyonce album, or hey, the new Harry Styles album. Hey, have y'all heard about this article? What is your take? Because I'm not going to teach you. What is your take? I need to hear what you know first. What do you think about this? Does this make you upset? Does this make you, okay, now I've heard what it makes you feel. What then are you going to do? Because then that tells me where, because I don't need to now bring out my quote unquote anger, disdain. I already know how I feel. It's very important that I know how you feel, because that tells me how I need to move forward with you. And, you know, conversations about race and respect will go on forever, and sovereignty about what is and what isn't. We see that with Nancy Pelosi arriving in Taiwan. It's a whole nother conversation. But the parallel is we have to have this conversation of, why can't white people be told that they can't do something without them getting offended? There is all this talk about military spaces, Area 51, don't go there, caution, be out. You never see in them horror movies black people running up in them places, but you see them white folk always interested in discovery of what has already been discovered, right? Because that's how we got here, discovering of new land that already had people inhabiting it. That's a whole other story. But it's important that we do have these conversations, and fortunately, we have to listen to the response. I don't think it's important that we always lead, because if we always lead, we're creating the narrative. I need to hear what the hell you think, because if I know what you think, I know better how to move around you, and more importantly, move away from you.
Yeah, absolutely. Folks, look, we're going to, you know, I think this could potentially trigger some more conversations. And I'm glad that, you know, one of the TikTok users decided to put this Airbnb superhost on blast. But my greatest concern is that this will become a trend, Brother Sinedu, where our sacred spaces are now used as a hotel. Like I hope it doesn't become a trend, but in the times and the days that we live in right now, you can't get past anything on anybody. So, you know, I just really hope that Airbnb does this due diligence and do us justice to not allow these things to happen. And we'll certainly keep folks posted about it. We got to take a quick.
When we invest in ourselves, we all shine. Together, we are Black beyond measure.
you do.